Saturday night church here at First United Methodist Church of Taylor, Texas. My name is Sela Finau, and I will be one of your hosts this evening.
And I'm Tiffany Charles. Thank you for joining us.
And tonight we have a guest with us. We have Brian Gray, who's going to join us in our conversation and our discussion of our topic this evening. So before we begin, let us go to God in prayer. Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks again for this day that you have blessed us with. Dear God, as we continue to do church and we continue to be your church, we continue to look for you for guidance, for leadership. Be with us, Lord. Be with our conversation this evening. May you bless everyone who is joining us online tonight. This we pray in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
I wish Jesus had come with us. He just wanted to be alone for a while, but I would have felt better if he had just gotten into the boat and come with us.
I know what you mean. I don't like it when Jesus isn't here. I think the water's beginning to get rough, and have you noticed the wind? It's beginning to pick up. I'm concerned. All right, I'm scared. I'll just say it.
Just hang on. We can ride out the storm, I think.
I don't know. The wind is really getting fierce, and the waves, they're splashing over the boat.
We're probably gonna sink. Where's Jesus when you need him?
I don't know. I just don't know.
What's that? Look over there. Do you see it? Is it someone actually coming toward us, walking on the water?
You know, that's not even possible. Not even on the glassy sea. Now with the waves and the howling wind, you're seeing things. That would really help save us, won't it?
No, I think I see someone also. I think I do see somebody over there. Or maybe my eyes are deceiving me.
Hey, is that you, Jesus? If it's you, just tell me to come to you. I'll do it.
Paul.
That's good enough for me. I'll step out over the edge of this boat.
Are you nuts? You're gonna drown. Don't be an idiot.
Are you really gonna step over the side? Is that really Jesus?
There's one way to find out. I'm coming, Lord.
Don't be afraid. I'm right here.
I'm okay, I think. Wow, these waves are big. Oh my God, I'm gonna drown. Help me, Lord. I'm sinking. I'm afraid.
Here, take my hand. You will be okay. Why did you have such little faith? Have you not seen? Do you not believe?
Forgive me, Lord. I am weak and fearful. Help me be stronger.
Forgive me, Lord, for my lack of faith. I know your love and the wondrous ways in which you have healed and restored others. Restore me also through your mercy and grace.
I wanted to believe, Lord, but I just couldn't. I wasn't sure. Please forgive me. Do not fear. I am with you. I will reach out to you as you encounter all the waves and winds in life. Place your hand in mine.
Neither wind or waves can swamp you.
Place your trust in God's mercy and love.
Go into the world with God's peace, with the reassurance that God is with you always. Amen.
Now we're going to continue our discussion with Matthew. So these last several weeks, we have been journeying with Matthew as he journals or tells the story of where Jesus fed the multitude and as he was trying to get away to take a little bit of vacation. And so this week, hopefully Jesus will get to take some time off. And that's where we're encountering Jesus this evening. It was after he fed the multitude last week, and we continue on with that story tonight. So Tiffany, please read us the story.
We're reading from Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 through 33. Walking on water. Immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowds. After dismissing the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone, but the boat was already gone over a mile from land, battered by the waves because the wind was against them. Around 3 in the morning, he came toward them walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. Immediately, Jesus spoke to them. "Have courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter answered him, "command me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. And climbing out of the boat, Peter started walking on the water and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the strength of the wind, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand, caught hold of him, and said to him, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" When they got into the boat, the wind ceased. Then those in the boat worshipped him and said, "Truly, you are the Son of God."
Thank you, Tiffany, for reading the story. And once again, this is a familiar story to us who are in the church. And so it's about Jesus walking on the water. What are your first thoughts or your reflections on this text? Brian?
Well, I think about a lot of different things in that story. One is the disciples, when they're in the boat and the sea starts getting rough, I feel like in the story they're starting to panic.
Yes.
But I also feel like you're already out there. You should try your best together to get to the other side rather than wasting time thinking about what are we going to do or how scary this wind is or the waves are. It's not like you can get back real quick, so you might as well keep going. That's just a side thought that I think about. And then when they see Jesus walking on the water, well, at first they don't know it's him, and first to see anybody walking on water, that's got to be kind of scary or freaky. And then when he commands, is it Peter?
Peter.
To come out, to come to him, then Peter appears to do fine for a little bit, and then he has the doubt settles in, and he sees the waves and everything else, and he starts to panic and falls. I guess it comes down to you have to have faith and faith and focus. I've said that before.
Mm-hmm.
Faith and focus. Yeah.
It's true. What are your thoughts, Tiffany?
Again, this is one of the stories we talk about in Sunday school a lot, very visual for the children when they say, "It's a ghost," the children can relate to that because he's doing something supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
People don't walk on water. And I always think, people that don't believe that Jesus was the Son of Man, even, people that aren't Christians, don't go to church, they know this story from the Bible oftentimes. They know, oh yeah, Jesus, the guy that walked on water, so that's how significant this story is. It kind of defines Jesus' power to everybody. And yeah, the Peter, definitely, like that's a story for all of us, because sometimes we start out good, like Peter did, as you said, Brian, we try, and then we doubt ourselves, we doubt God's power in us, we need help, but Jesus is always there to help us up. I mean, he didn't let Peter drown, and I think we all go through that, we start out great, and then we kind of falter, and we don't trust ourselves. So Jesus is always there to help us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have y'all ever been on a boat cruise or boat going somewhere?
Once or twice. It's been a while.
Yeah. And so I've been on many boat rides, just being from the island, and I guess I just like to be on the water. And I remember one time, that one time was 5 years ago, I believe. We were in Tonga and we were getting on the boat from one island to go to the main island, and I was on the island of Ewa, which is not too far off from the main island of Tongatapu. And we were traveling by night. It was pretty rough, and so you can feel the waves. Where we were seated, the chairs weren't really, I don't think the chairs were glued to the floor, because the seats were also moving. As the waves were moving, the seats inside the boat were moving as well. And I'm not going to say there weren't any fear within me, but I think there were more calmness in me than there were any fear, because at that point, I wasn't sure why would you fear if something terrible is going to happen. It's going to happen.
Fear's not going to
So
It's not going to stop it.
It's not going to save me. And I still remember that sitting in front of me was a nun. And how do I know that? Because she had on the whole the whole uniform of being a nun, and then I was sitting in the back with my nephew. But I also trusted, because the captain of the boat was a relative as well, and I thought, he's done this many times. You know, so they knew what the weather was going to be like. And so when we left, it was still at nighttime. By the time we were approaching or landing in the other main island, it was daylight. So, and my plane was leaving that morning as well, coming back to the US but going through New Zealand. But anyways, but we made it just fine, but I could feel and I could relate perhaps to what the disciples were feeling as they were encountering the storm while they were out on the boat. And like Peter, at least when Jesus told him to get out and walk towards him, he had the courage to do so. I'm not so sure if I would have had the courage to get out of the boat, to walk towards Jesus. And that's just the honest truth, because you are safe where you are, and getting out of the boat requires extraordinary faith and extraordinary courage of stepping into the unknown. You're more at a safety net where you are, because at least you know you have your friends with you, you have the community with you. To step out in faith, you know that sometimes you're going to be on your own. Sometimes Jesus is calling you to do something that nobody else will follow, but only you.
You got to have some confidence to start. It doesn't mean you're not going to have some doubt.
Yes.
And it might pop up at the wrong time, but you've got to deal with it. You're right. I mean, there's going to be times you're by yourself. Do the best you can.
Right.
You're taking a risk. A leap of faith. You are literally leaping out of the boat. That's the only way to get out.
That's right. But you got to step out of the boat. Sometimes following Jesus calls us to do exactly that. Even when we fear, even when we are terrified, even when we do not know what is before us or what it is that we are stepping into, sometimes Jesus calls us to do just that, and to trust that Jesus will be there to save us.
I think it's significant too. He's asking him to step out of the boat. It's not calm water either. This is in the middle of a storm. It's one thing to even try to do it when it's calm. That this is in the middle of a horrible storm where things are really scary.
Yes.
So that's, just the magnitude of, this little bitty boat in this big sea, it's the power of God. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. Because I mean, how many times are we willing to step out of our house when there's a storm happening? You know, so Peter and the disciples were out at sea, but if there was a storm happening right here in Taylor, for example, and it's lightning and heavy
you're all
rain,
horns going on.
right? how many of us will be willing to step outside of our own homes? You know, so imagine what these disciples were going through. And I think sometimes, you know, we're quick to criticize Peter for his lack of faith.
I feel like he got a little bit, so
Yeah,
yeah, more
he
faith.
started- oh, yeah.
I mean, I would have doubted and gone under.
Right. I mean, some of us won't even step out of the boat,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So, but Peter, at least, he heard Jesus' voice calling him, and he was willing to step out of the boat to walk towards Jesus.
Great.
I grew up on the Texas Gulf Coast. I've been fishing since I was 5 years old. So when the story came up in Vacation Bible School or Sunday School of Jesus walking on the water, this little kid was in awe. And I can remember going home and asking my dad, "Dad, did you know Jesus walked on the water?" And he said, "Yes, dear, Jesus can do anything." And all I can remember is my little brain at about 7 or 8 years old going, wow. Wow.
Sandra Galnor. To me, it says I can have faith in Jesus to always be there for me, and that He can do anything.
Shirley Ball, and I feel the same way as Sandra. I believe Jesus can do anything, and He will be there for us no matter what.
Beth Curik here. What do I think about that? When I think about it, I don't really relate to anything in today's world because I don't know of anybody who can walk on water. To me, that's something specific that Jesus did. No one else has ever done that I'm aware of. So I don't think much about anything other than Jesus did that, which was a miracle.
Peter didn't have enough faith, and Jesus sort of beat him up on that fact that he didn't have the faith that he should have had, and because he sunk.
But he did save him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And did the story say that he quieted the water when he got in the boat, or was that another boat?
No, the water quieted after he got in the
Yeah.
boat.
Yeah, there was calmness in the wind and the sea when Jesus got into the boat.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that this, along with all the other parables, is the illustration that if you can have faith and believe in Christ,
You won't
God
sink.
as well, that all things will work out.
Mm-hmm.
That's where your faith, your strength comes from. And to me, it's looking at all the parables together, the miracles that Jesus did, the miracles that got him into trouble, that caused the ultimate saving of mankind.
I think it was a lesson also to the other disciples,
Yeah.
the fact that they needed to have more faith, just like Peter.
Have to follow the example and have faith. We'll be able to provide for our necessities of it, like eating, if we have faith.
Do you think Peter had faith when he got out of the boat?
Yes, but he got distracted, which happens to us too, all the time. And you got to keep calling yourself back.
Yeah.
Or you will go under.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, in the New Testament, the disciples many times tested their own faith, if you want. They lost faith several times, and Jesus always corrected them. It's the same example, basically, I think, is to teach the other disciples.
Well, Gary and Ann, I want to thank you for your time and for graciously agreeing to be our guest for our Saturday night church. Was there anything else that you want to add on as a closing remark, comments, or reflection?
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you very much.
It was not a safe time to be Jesus, because if his mentor, if John the Baptist just got murdered, so imagine what they were feeling. That means that they were at risk as well, because any of them could be taken up and beheaded as well. And so it was not a time for you to be out in public, but rather to maybe retreat to your own space and not be out. But yet here was Jesus and the disciples willing to be out there because they saw the multitude of people who were wanting healing, wanting to hear what Jesus had to say to them. But all right, well, thank you again for joining us tonight for our Saturday night church. I do want to thank Brian Gray for being our guest this evening. It has been our blessing to have you. So again, you are welcome to be our guest at any time. You can reach out to us and let us know that you want to be a part of our Saturday night church. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. We hope that you have been blessed by our conversation, by our discussion, and reading the message from Jesus. So the things that we want to be thinking of going forward today is, what is it do you think that Jesus is calling you to do? What is Jesus calling us to do individually and collectively as a church in our context today? Is Jesus calling you to step out in faith to provide for somebody else who may be hungry, who may be hurting from whatever it is? Each and every one of us, I believe, are being called to a specific or a particular task, as long as we are willing and as long as we have the heart to follow Jesus. There is something for everyone to step out in faith and do. So now, let us go to God in prayer.
Thank you. Please join us in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to share the word with those that are tuning in this evening. Please help us to recognize your voice and listen in the storm when you call us and ask us to come. Help us to be like Peter, to have courage, to step out of the boat, and to have faith to continue our walk on the water for you, Lord. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Draw me nearer, nearer, precious Lord, to thy precious bleeding side. Draw me nearer, nearer, precious Lord, to thy precious bleeding side. We're taking it on the road.